based loosely on Numbers 33-36. As Israel stood on the threshold of the Promised Land, the Lord had Moses look back over every step of the long road from Egypt to the plains of Moab. Moses recorded each stage of the journey, from Ramesses to Succoth and Etham, through the Red Sea's parted waters, to Mara's bitter springs and Elam's palm-shaded wells, past Sinai's fiery mountain and through years of wandering in the wilderness. Each campsite became a reminder that God had led, corrected, and preserved his people, even when they complained or rebelled. The journey was not a random trail of tents, but a carefully guided path under God's hand, showing that he had never abandoned his promise. Looking back on that path also meant remembering the consequences of unbelief. The graves in the desert from Kadesh to Moab testified that a whole generation had fallen because they refused to trust God's word about the land. Yet alongside their failures stood the steadfast presence of the cloud and fire, daily manna, water from the rock, and victories over enemies who tried to block the way. By recalling both discipline and mercy, God prepared the new generation to enter the land with a sober, grateful heart, determined not to repeat their parents' mistakes. From the plains of Moab, the Lord then gave a clear charge. When Israel crossed the Jordan, they were to drive out the inhabitants of Canaan, destroy idols, and tear down high places. If they left pockets of idolatry, those peoples would become pricks in their eyes and thorns in their sides, troubling them in the land they were to inherit. In other words, compromise would not simply weaken them, it would eventually enslave them. The land was a gift, but it demanded a holy response. God tied their peace in the land to their willingness to remove what opposed him. God also fixed the boundaries of the inheritance, appointed leaders to oversee the division of the land, and scattered Levite towns and cities of refuge across Israel. The cities of refuge especially taught Israel that even in the land of promise there would still be need for justice, mercy, and protection for those who failed without intent. Life in Canaan would not be a dream without conflict, but a real society shaped by God's laws, where every tribe had its portion. The Levites served at the center, and wrongs were handled in ways that reflected God's own character. At the close of Numbers, the daughters of Zelophehad reappear, and the question of inheritance within their tribe is settled in a way that both honors their rights and preserves tribal boundaries. This final detail shows that God cares not only about battles and borders, but about families, names, and fairness within his people. As the book ends, Israel has their story behind them, God's commands before them, and the Jordan at their feet. The next step will be taken under Joshua's leadership. But the lessons of the wilderness, faith, obedience, and careful separation from evil, must guide every step if they are to truly